What does "you're either a racist or anti-racist" mean? Well, I've already had quite the education on this topic from the man who wrote the book on anti-racism.
And so I mentioned in my talk that the heartbeat of racism is denial, and really the heartbeat of anti-racism is confession, is the recognition that to grow up in this society is to literally, at some point in our lives, probably internalize ideas that are racist, ideas that suggest certain racial groups are better or worse than others.
But let's get Rithu's take on it. I'm sure it's going to be great.
It's Ask Rithu. Thanks so much for sending in your questions across social media. I love hearing from you. Keep them coming.
I am here to serve.
Today's question that I'll answer goes like this. I keep hearing about how we're either racist or anti-racist. Can you please explain this?
Yes, please do. It sounds so very, very complicated.
So this is a great question given that we are in the thick of a racial injustice crisis, and a lot is being said and written about this conversation. And in fact, you've probably come across Ibram Kendi's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist.
Indeed I have. It's been selling like hotcakes. Like faith-based, racist, nonsensical hotcakes.
And in his book, he actually talks about how we are either racist or anti-racist. There is no in between. And where do I stand on this?
Well, Rithu, I am dying to know. Because if you accept Dr. Kendi's theory, then you would also have to accept and admit that at your core, you are a racist. Which would be a stunning admission and would open the door to an endless number of questions about your personal character and your consulting business. So, please, do tell.
I fundamentally agree with this concept.
Wow. So then, you are a racist.
The recognition that to grow up in this society is to literally, at some point in our lives, probably internalize ideas that are racist, ideas that suggest certain racial groups are better or worse than others.
Got it.
For me, there is no in between either. You're either engaging in racism or you're engaging in anti-racism.
Well, sure. But whichever side you think you belong on, you're still a racist. Because racism is the default constant in all people. You're either unapologetic about it, or apologetic about it. That's what anti-racism is. A perpetual confession of an indelible sin. I mean, I learned that directly from Dr. Kendi. So then, you are a racist yourself, right?
Right?
But what is meant by this? So I want to break down the concept of being racist and racism first, and then we'll go to anti-racist and anti-racism. So when we are talking about racism, what we're ultimately talking about is the manifestation of white supremacy.
What? No, Rithu, no. Racism is the elevation and or denigration of a person or persons on the basis of their race. It's not an ideology tied towards or against one specific skin color. So,
And by the way, I've done another video on this. You can check it out on my YouTube channel or at rithubasine.com. So when we are engaging in racism, we are essentially, through our words and actions, putting out there that white people are superior to people of color and people who are indigenous. That whiteness, behaving in ways that tie back to white Anglo-centric ways of being, are preferred to the ways that people of color and people from indigenous communities behave. And so this is what racism is essentially about, or what being racist is about.
And with that definition, you, Rithu, are thus indemnified from ever being racist or being accused of racism because, since you're not white, and you've actively denigrated white people in the past, see my previous video, you are free of sin under the anti-racism model. Got it.
On the other side of the spectrum, there is anti-racism, or the act of being anti-racist. When you are over here in the land of anti-racism, through your words and your actions, through your behaviors, you actively seek out ways in which to interrupt the belief that white people are better, that whiteness is better. And so you use your voice to call out biases and inappropriate remarks, that you are constantly working to disrupt the system that you see around you and your own individual behaviors. You are deeply committed and you are doing the work to call out racism and white supremacy.
Bias? Calling out white supremacy? Oh, like voicing a rampant dislike of people with white skin, perhaps? Like in that previous video of yours I looked at? So, denigrating white people makes you an anti-racist. Got it.
There is no in-between. You're either engaging in racism or anti-racism. Now, you can hold a deep belief that anti-racism is really important, that racism is wrong and bad. But if you do nothing, you say nothing, and you don't alter your behavior, your silence and inaction affirms racism. And this is why the intention is not what's important, the impact is.
So, if I am not directing suspicion and ire towards white people in a visible and active way, if I'm just minding my own business and not engaging with people on the basis of race, then I must be a racist? And the only way to unprove this negative is to behave in the way you define as appropriate? A way that could never itself be considered racist, because racism is practiced only by one race. Got it.
So, great question. I hope my answer shed some light. I love hearing from you all. Keep your questions coming, and thanks, as always, for watching.
Well, I did learn something today about deflection and denial and the benevolence of socially acceptable racism. Because if a book tells you it's okay to behave badly, well, let's just all surrender our critical thinking skills to the next person offering us easy answers and a permission to hate. But hey, what do I know? I mean, I am white. So please, hate me for your own sake. Your very soul depends on it.
The heartbeat of anti-racism is confession.
As always, thank you for watching.